One evening, I was on my way home from work. While I was driving home, I was falling asleep since I had worked a 12-hour overtime shift. As I was driving, I was the only car coming home from the drive, and I spotted something in the middle of the road. I rubbed my eyes twice to see if I was just dreaming or falling asleep, but as I was reaching near it, nothing was in the middle anymore. As I drove past it, I looked in my rear view mirror and saw it again in the same position. I got so scared and sped up so I could just get home as fast as I could. When I reached my house, I was shaking and scared and didn't know how to act or tell my family what I saw coming home. The next day, when I woke up, I told my parents and they told me maybe I was just too tired from work and was falling asleep and just scared myself. So after telling them I felt much better and rested the whole day, I later headed back to my same routine of going to work. As I was coming home the next day, I experienced the paranormal activity. I was coming closer to the spot I encountered the night before, and I could feel goosebumps crawling up on me. This time there were actually a couple cars following me home, so I felt much better. So I drove past the place and nothing happened, and I saw nothing that night. The third day, on my way to work, I was feeling good about going to work because I knew it was a paid day. But when I got to work, my supervisor changed my mood because he had told me we would be working overtime again and maybe longer than usual. After my drive coming home from work that night, I began to feel the same. When I worked another 12-hour shift late, I began to see the same thing I saw in the middle of the road. It didn't move or do anything, it just sat there like it was sleeping on the road. I just kept looking and staring in my mirror, thinking it would move as I got closer. Nothing was there again. When I got home, I searched up the street to see if anything had happened where I saw what I saw on the road. Searching and searching, I finally got news that a family was coming home from their vacation and got into a bad car accident, and their baby had died. So the thing I saw on the street was the baby spirit rolling around trying to find her parents. Lots of people even comment that they experienced the same thing. After searching for what I was looking for, I went to sleep and the next day told my parents what I found, and they said maybe the baby spirits were still there trying to find her home. Many people think spirits do not exist or are not real. They sometimes think we don't see them, but in real life we do, or we were lucky when chosen to see them. One night, I had an argument with my family and got mad and went out on a long drive. Even though it was late at night, there were still a lot of cars on the road, making it difficult for me to concentrate on my situation. So I drove to the countryside, where I knew there would be fewer cars at this time of night. As I was driving out in the country to ignore traffic, I came across a white shadow in the almond fields. I kind of ignored it, but as I was driving on, I could see the shadow floating in the air following my car. I didn't think much of it because the countryside has a lot of wind, so maybe it was just some plastic flying about. After a while, I kept on driving on and looked through my rear view and still saw the white object flying in the air. I was on full alert this time, because if it was just some sort of plastic floating around, I should have left it behind long ago, as I was driving pretty fast. But the weird thing was that it was still right behind my car, tailing me. Since it was so dark, I did not want to stop and get out to check what it was, so I just continued driving and looking back at it occasionally. After what felt like forever, I looked back and there it was still, right behind my car. It did not look like it wanted to come up to my window, it was just maintaining its speed to be behind me. Suddenly, thinking that maybe it was a ghost, I had goosebumps all over my body. That made me even more certain that I was not supposed to slow down to investigate what it was. After a while, I pulled down my window to take a very quick look back, but I still couldn't see clearly what it was. It is like there was no single shape to the white anomaly. If you look at it, it might just be a huge circle of white dust following you, but if you look at it the next moment, it will resemble the shape of a human. Then if you look at it again later on, it will go back to a blob of white dust. I was so confused as to what it really was. Then, all of a sudden, I thought I heard someone saying hello behind me. I almost stepped on the brake out of instinct. I looked inside the back of the car, but there was no one, so I suddenly had this thought that maybe it came from the white anomaly behind me. I got so scared and sped home as fast as I could. When I got home, I went to my room and thought about what I saw and tried to not to scare myself and went to sleep. The next day, I drove back to the spot in broad daylight and saw a cross with flowers and balloons on one of the almond trees and realized someone had died there. I came back and looked and saw that the person had been murdered and their body was dumped on the almond field. Farmers came to the farm and found the body of an old man with wounds and a bullet to his head. So he had died of a bullet and reported it to the police. When police got there and did their investigation, the body had been there for 2 days and the man's body had rotted halfway. So they had to do an autopsy to see who the man was. As I was thinking about what I saw that night, I was having chills and was scared that maybe what I saw was the man's spirit. I was driving home one night from my girlfriend's house. It was a normal night on the California 99 highway. It was a cold, windy night, not too many cars. I was cruising at around 75 headed over a slight hill, just big enough that you can't see the other side. I got to the top and started making my way down the hill. And very suddenly in my headlight view, I saw a giant construction vehicle with all of its lights turned off. It parked in the left lane of the highway. I prayed to God that no one hit that parked construction vehicle. As I slowed down and got closer to the vehicle, my heart dropped. There was a baby crawling in the middle of the highway. My head was spinning and confused. As I parked my car 20 feet away from the baby and got out, I realized there was no sound or people around the construction vehicle. Just dead quiet. My headlight was the only light on the road. Suddenly, the baby stopped crawling and turned its head to look at me. It smiled, then slowly came towards me. I yelled out loud, "Is anyone there?" Dead quiet. Nothing. As the baby got closer to me, I could see the tongue sticking out with some black liquid coming out from the mouth. Then suddenly it stood up and ran towards me. I got in my car and floored all the way in reverse. While in reverse, I was praying that no car was coming, or else they will rear-end me. When I couldn't see the construction vehicle anymore, I stopped the car and immediately called the police and told them about it. They said they will be coming to check out the situation, and told me it'll take them about 5 minutes. 5 minutes in that situation felt like a long time, and I did not want to stay there even for a second. After about 1 minute of being shaken up in the car, I decided to go back the way I came. After making a U-turn, suddenly I had to brake very hard, because in front of me was the construction vehicle. I couldn't believe my eyes, because I knew I had already driven far from the place I saw the vehicle. I suddenly whipped my head to look around very fast because I knew if the vehicle was there, then the baby, or whatever it was, should most likely be there too. Because I whipped my head too fast, I could feel a sharp pain in my neck. The pain was horrible, but after a few seconds my adrenaline overshadowed it. And then I just stepped on the gas and sped right past the vehicle. After what felt like eternity, red and blue lights suddenly came into my vision. It was the police vehicle pulling me over because I was over the speed limit. I pulled over and explained the situation to the officer. He asked if I was the one who called dispatch. I told him I was, so he told me that another police car was already on the way to the construction vehicle, and that he was also supposed to go too. But he saw me speeding, so he split from the other car to pull me over. After a few minutes, the other officer radioed back and told us to go over there to him because there was a situation. The officer and I went to the spot where I saw the construction vehicle, but all I saw was just an officer standing there. There was no construction vehicle on the road. We got out, and the officer there led us to the edge of the road and pointed down. Down there was the construction vehicle, but it looked like it had gotten into an accident and had been there for a while. There is also a cloth, which looked like it belonged to a baby. The creepiest thing I had ever experienced in my life was back in 2004, moving from St. Paul, Minnesota to Fresno, California. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a cold, raining day, and the highway was empty. It was 3:07 a.m. I was driving down Highway 180 to 99 Sacramento and saw an older model car, a red Toyota Corolla. I was driving behind the car and it seems to swerve a bit. And as I was trying to pass the car, it speeded up. Then I looked to the side of the highway and saw a woman in a traditional Hmong clothes. All of suddenly the car in front of me launched off to a stone wall at the side of the highway. Roll 3 or 4 times, end over end. I could actually see a human fly through the air. I pulled over and called 911 and gave them the GPS coordinates of the overpass. I asked the dispatch if I should get out and help the people in the car, and she told me not to because there was an officer less than 5 minutes away. 30 minutes later, I get a call from the police asking exactly where it was. I repeated the info. The officer said that he was sitting at that location, and there was nothing there. Not a skid mark, broken glass, or any debris. Nothing at all. When I got home, I Googled it. This is what I found out. Exactly 5 years prior, a family were driving on a raining day on Highway 180 and when they lost control, flipped over a guide rail and rolled down the embankment. All 3 kids and 2 adults were killed. They were driving a red Toyota Corolla. The time of the accident, 3:07 a.m. Till this day I have no idea who's the woman in the Hmong clothes, standing at the side of the highway. But I have a feeling that she might have something to do with the accident.